Meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Prince.
Here.
Mr. Person.
Here.
Ms. Switchy.
Here.
Mr. McIrvin.
Here.
Ms. Perez.
Here.
Mr. Pavoni.
Here.
Mr. Corman.
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have a proclamation.
Okay, proclamation, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas each year in the United States, more than 15,000 children from birth to 19 years old are diagnosed with cancer, equal to about 42 childhood cancer diagnoses each year, or each day. And whereas each year worldwide, there are more than 300,000 new childhood cancer diagnoses, which means about every 3 minutes, a family will hear the words, "Your child has cancer." And whereas although the 5-year survival rate for childhood cancers has reached 80%, nearly 2,000 American children under the age of 19 still die each year from cancer, making it the leading killer of children by disease. And whereas those that do survive will often face at least one chronic health condition later on in life, including but not limited to heart, liver, or lung damage, infertility, secondary cancers, and growth deficits. And whereas the causes of childhood cancer are largely unknown and more studies are needed to understand which treatments work best for children, as they often must differ from traditional adult treatments to take into account children's developmental needs and other factors. And whereas hundreds of children are being treated for cancer in Washington state, and whereas Washington is a caring state and community that supports children and families. Now therefore, I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim September 2018 to be Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Renton, and I encourage all citizens to join me in the special observance and witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed the 17th day of September 2018, signed Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Pavoni.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. I don't see Olivia here, so Olivia Gonzalez here. We will make sure she gets this proclamation. All right, next up, we have a very special presentation. It's always great to have our council member Reagan Dunn here to talk to us about the state of the county. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Always great to be here. I would be remiss being in the great city of Renton if I didn't give you the score of the Seahawks game right now. It is Seattle 3, Chicago 10. But we got them down on their 22-yard line, so we got a shot at this. We're in there. We'll get them back. We're a comeback team. Always a pleasure to come out here to Renton, as I do with the other 9 cities that I have the privilege to represent every year, and just kind of give an update on what's happening in the county, and with the chair's permission, perhaps take a few questions. As you know, I represent around 250,000 constituents. 50,000 of them, about 1/5, live in the city of Renton. So it's my largest single municipality, and proud of it. I want to talk about a couple of different things: the county budget process, flood districts, grants, transportation, bus routes, a few other things, and then feel free to jump in if you want to stop me on anything. Let me talk about affordable housing. That's the issue of the day. I literally just drove from the courthouse today, where we had a knockdown, drag out, but healthy discussion on what to do with the hotel motel tax and where that money was going to go. State law says that 37.5% need to go generally to affordable housing, 37.5% to arts and floriculture in those groups, and then the balance can be used for tourism generally. And it's always a tug of war on how we divide that pie, what size slice goes where. Basically what ended up happening is $135 million went to Safeco Field, down from $185 million, which was what was recommended by the board, the Public Facilities Board, so about a $50 million cut. Housing, affordable housing came out quite robustly in terms of its probably the biggest winner in that. Besides Safeco Field, and I think the The bottom was tourism, unfortunately, which really didn't get the funding that it could have deserved. And it probably could have perhaps made other constituencies happier, but it was a compromise. Everybody came together. There was a coalition of 5 that did manage to drive the issue forward. So that is kind of what is happening with respect to affordable housing. I think it's good news for the Renton Housing Authority. I had a chance, as Mr. Harrison well knows, that I had a chance to talk to the Housing Authority, in fact, meet with them and go tour some things yesterday. And the soon-to-open Sunset Court was really nice to see. Very, very nice project up there. And so I want to make sure that these money, now that we've voted on this and it will be signed into law by Dow Constantine, can get ready and come to these projects right away. You know, the old shovel-ready projects thing, I think we're ready to make moves on that and get that down as quickly as we possibly can. Talk a little bit about For Culture funds. There was a big division of money last year, and Renton, I think, got some very significant funding through that, including the Renton Civic Theater and the Renton Historical Society. The Civic Theater getting almost $80,000, and they restored their decades-old seating to make it more accessible. I don't know if you've been there. It's beautiful, sort of classic, sort of that reddish, maroon, burgundy style velvet seating. It looks really, really nice. The theater's been repainted. It's really delightful. Another almost $25,000 went to support the Renton History Museum. So that's good that some of the arts money is coming into Renton, because Seattle tends to grab most of that money if we're not fighting to make sure it gets outside of the city of Seattle. Let me talk about the biennial budget. We're now on a budget cycle every 2 years, so it's the 2019 and 2020 budget. We'll continue to advocate for funds coming over from that county budget in and around the city of Renton. On the 24th of this month, the executive is going to deliver his speech. And as you know, 86% of that stuff is dedicated to very specific purposes, in most cases voter approved. The only 14% of it is the general fund, just very similar to your own budget. And so that revenue, as you know, hasn't been keeping pace with the county expenses because of the 1% restriction on growth on property tax collections in Washington. That was Initiative 747 many years ago. And so we are anticipating a $25 million shortfall in the general fund for the biennium, but that's not nearly as big as it could have been or was in past budget cycles, and part of that is because the economy is doing very well right now, and that's good news. We've generated some strong sales tax collections and significant amount from new construction, which is all good. We're going to be having at least one evening public hearing on the budget and more. Dave Upgrove, who represents the other half of the city, is making a determination how much of this public outreach he wants to do. So I'm always a fan of more, but the one we know for sure is Thursday, October 4th at 6:30 at the Chief Canaan Middle School in Falls City. So that will be one. And then the goal is to pass the budget out on Tuesday, November 13th. So those are our plans moving forward. Another budget item of interest, I think, to the city of Renton was the King County Flood Control District budget. It was passed out this summer. I happen to continue to chair that. I'm not sure if it's by choice or if it's just the last assignment that is given to me and I just go do that, but it's fun. I enjoy it very much, and we've done a lot of good work, $500 million of infrastructure put throughout King County to protect from major catastrophic flooding. And you're seeing some of that stuff happen in the Carolinas right now. Very sad, crazy. We're not a region prone to hurricanes, but we have other problems. You know, we get significant flooding and historically have, and for different reasons. You know, you get significant snowpack in the Cascade Mountains, and you get a Pineapple Express that warms up and rains on that snow, and we can get some very major, significant flood events. In fact, 2009, we had an 80-year flood event. Cedar River covered over State Route 169. So it's a real threat, and we work hard on that. There's a number of grant programs that are going through, including a discretionary grant program, a water resource inventory area RIA grant program, and a lot of that has come through and made a difference. The city of Renton received $80,000 to replace 2 culverts that are causing flooding near Raynor Avenue North and Benson Road South. The Cedar River Watershed, or RIA 8, grant addressed salmon habitat restoration to projects in high priority habitats or watersheds. And so through this grant, almost $800,000 is going to go to King County's Riverbend Restoration Construction Project to reconnect the Cedar River to that floodplain just off to the east here. And it's a 52-acre floodplain for water storage. See, restoration work is nice because you can clear out a wider area, and so that flooding can go out as opposed to channel in and go down and be more destructive. So we're working on that. Shifting gears briefly, if I might, to King County Metro. Some changes that I think are important. One, it's a growing system. It's never quite able to keep up with demand. Our region's going to grow around 30% by 2040. We predict that. In fact, we're seeing about an average of 236 people moving to Seattle area each day, according to a report by the PSRC. So it's an inflow, and that's our challenge as elected leaders, is how do we manage that growth and provide the infrastructure to do our job so that we can get everybody living together and living effectively so they can get to and from work and back to their families. Some of the things that are going to start on Saturday as far as Metro changes include more F-line service. So from Burien to Tukwila International Boulevard, Link Station to the Renton TC to the landing. You're going to have more frequent evening service on Saturday and Sunday. Trips will be added between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. to provide service every 15 minutes instead of every 30 minutes. That's good. Metro Route 11, which is Maplewood to Lake Kathleen to downtown Seattle, and the 114 Renton Highlands to downtown Seattle. Trips, 1 a.m. trip on each route to relieve crowding. These are commuter routes from East Renton, Renton Highlands into downtown Seattle via I-90. The first/last trip times remain the same, but there will be one more trip in the morning on each route. So that's that. Also, routes 111 and 114 will have changes to the last two outbound stops for Route 111 and 114 in the south end of downtown Seattle due to the closure of the Rainier Freeway Station and the D2 roadway. We don't expect a significant change in travel time, but riders in the afternoon will have to use a newly expanded stop, Second and Yesler, instead of the existing stops. Other Renton items of note, March 2019 preview routes 101 and 102 will move from the downtown Seattle Transit Tunnel to surface streets. Those routes will take about 5 to 8 minutes longer and will serve 4th Avenue inbound to Seattle and 2nd Avenue outbound to Renton. Just a couple more. Metro is working with City of Renton and Southport developer SECO on ensuring good connections as that development is built out. It already has good service with multiple Metro and ST lines nearby. Metro is continuing to work with Sound Transit and the City of Renton on relocation of the transit center, as you all know, with a target date 2023 with the launch of I-405 bus rapid transit. So that's coming. It's not what we wanted, as you all know. We could have done better in terms of what we were getting from Sound Transit, but that is something. I know Metro is currently working with the city to plan the installation of Rapid Line I, which will connect Renton to Kent and Auburn. So that'll be exciting when that comes. So we'll continue to watch over those service changes and do the very best that we can to make sure that those get funded. East Side Rail Corridor, it was great to be out there with Mayor Law and Council Members Perez and McIrwin on the East Side Rail Corridor. It was nice. We were there a year or so ago when we pulled the spike, ceremonial spike. But that trail is 16.7 miles, and it's an important connection along the eastern shore of Lake Washington, including here in Renton, right down at Jean Coulon Park. I think it'll be helpful as an alternate commuting route and to help businesses' jobs. And I like to tell the interesting talking point, REI, which is now locating, of course, in Bellevue, 25% of their employees bike to work, believe it or not. About half of them come from the south of I-90, and half of them come from the north. So, yeah, it'll be an important, not everyone wants to sit in 405. Some people want to bike. I get that. We're going to have other challenges like signage, and we're going to have speed issues, and we'll work through those in collaboration with your city and your interests moving forward. So I think I've probably covered most everything that I want to cover. And I guess if the chair is willing, I'm happy to take a few questions or comments on any issue important to the city of Renton.
Any questions from council?
Well, I
Ms.
will.
Perez.
Thank you. I will. First of all, thank you. As every year you're here, and we're really happy to hear your presentation. Thank you for all your efforts to helping the residents along the Side Rail Corridor. I personally witnessed you walking literally with one resident to hear their concerns, and that speaks volumes of your commitment. Thank you very much for everything that you can do to help with. They're really welcoming this asset to the city. I mean, really, it's amazing. The East Side Rail Corridor, how much is being used, but of course, they have, as you say, some little issues here and there with the speeding and some things going that can make it a better experience for everybody, I will say. But I want to really appreciate the fact that you took the time and walk the corridor with the resident just to make sure that she was listening. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Perez, and that was interesting. I very engaged woman, civic activist, grabbed me and said, "Reagan, let's go take a look at the trail." And I'm so excited. Let's go look. I'm just assuming it's on my schedule. It's not on my schedule, so I realized about a mile up the road that we're just having fun. I got a chance to see the trail. But the good news is her husband drove me back, so it was good. Anyway, that's our job as politicians, right? Elected officials to do that.
I have one question, and I think we have one from Councilwoman Witchy. You mentioned earlier parks, and thank you for ensuring that the city of Renton got its fair share in parks. I know that you all will be talking about a parks levy soon, and so my hope is that you all, will make sure that the city of Renton also gets its fair share out of the parks levy as well.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Prince. I appreciate that comment, and it's going to be sort of sent over with some ideas for the council to chew on, but it's a little bit of a blank slate. There's still quite a bit of flexibility in exactly how we fund that, and we can put line items in there to make sure we're putting brackets on particular projects so that they're embedded and not left up to the discretion of other, in the bureaucracy. And so there was an elected constituency advocating for it. So the short point I guess I'm trying to make is, please reach out to me with what your most important priorities are for that and how it interfaces across the city of Renton's priorities. Because my job, in my view, in most every case, is to advocate for whatever it is the city of Renton sees as their priorities, and so I can help deliver those resources to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Ms. Witchy?
I just wanted to say thank you for the theater seats. We were there for the tear out, and that was tough, but then we were excited with the finished product. And
Good.
now it's my job to keep people from eating in there.
Yeah, it looks terrific.
Yeah,
I
it
love
does.
that old theater.
And there's more room, and people can walk up and down the aisles, and it's
Good.
a great improvement, and it's been a long time coming. So thank you for making sure we got our fair share of that.
My pleasure. Happy to do that. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Mr. Corman?
Yeah, and I wanted to add my thank you for the expanded metro service. It seems like even though, as you mentioned, we're still a little bit, we wish we got more from Sound Transit 3, from all Sound Transit. And we are glad that we're getting the BRT, and we appreciate everybody that's helping with that. But I really feel like we're seeing Metro really fill in some of those gaps. And we could always use more Metro service. We definitely have a lot of eager potential riders here. But just in the last day, we got more notice that there was going to be more, more coverage added. And I know you work really hard on that for us, and I wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you, Council Member. Yeah, I chaired the Regional Transit Committee for 7 years, but I think it's really critical that the City of Renton have a representative on the Sound Transit Board, and I will continue to fight for that and make sure that that voice is heard, because I just feel like maybe part of it is a little bit of the geography, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
So obviously that spine will increase with time, and boy, the voice needs to be heard, really, I think, loudly, because Renton's in it. Heck, Fairwood and portions of unincorporated King County, not all of Fairwood, but a good chunk of it is inside the Sound Transit District. And they need an advocate too, and somebody from Renton would be a pretty good one.
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. One last point, if I might, I want to introduce my intern, Megan. Megan, just wave your hand. There she is in the back. She's done a great job. She's you're going to be a senior at University of Washington. She's done a great job. It's her second time interning, so I asked her if she wanted to come up and give my speech tonight, but she said no. But she's that good. I'm very proud of having her work with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right. Next up, public hearing. We had a written comments for the public hearing were received until the hearing closed at 5 p.m. City staff has been made aware that the King County Assessor's Office has determined that the annexation petition certification issued for the Parker annexation may have been issued in error. The Assessor's Office believes that the required 60% of the assessed valuation was not met and is therefore insufficient. Additionally, the Assessor's Office has indicated that they will be allowing property owners who signed the annexation petition to withdraw their names from the petition. The Assessor's Office will be finalizing the determination over the course of this week and will notify the city by next Monday, September 24th, 2018, on the status of the petition certification and whether the certification will be invalidated or affirmed. Our staff here at the City of Renton will notify the council of the final status as soon as possible. So there'll be no deliberations on the Parker annexation tonight. And with that, we're going to move to the administrative report. Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. 2 items this evening. First of all, I just wanted to thank and recognize all the volunteers, participants, and the city staff that participated in the 2-day multicultural festival. Very successful participation. Unfortunately, the weather was a little bit of a downer on Saturday, but overall, still very good participation by the community, and all those involved who attended had a good time. And then lastly, I know I kind of report on this fairly regularly, but it is one of the main questions we get, which is, what's going on in terms of traffic within the community. And so just another reminder that if you'd like to know some of the closures or other traffic impacts that are occurring on within the city, you can go to rentonwa.gov /traffic impacts, and it's got a listing of all the various times, the street closures, and street impacts that will be going on for that week. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Next up is audience comment. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. When recognized, please state your name and city of residence for the record. First up, we have Robert Henry.
City Council members, my name is Robert Henry, and our family is a resident of the southeast corner of Newcastle. I want to speak tonight regarding a proposal to log a 35-acre privately owned parcel which is entirely within the city of Newcastle and abuts Cougar Mountain Regional Wildland Park. The parcel drains into May Creek on the north end of Renton. Logging operations on this parcel will impact the sediment load into May Creek and the aesthetics of the view from Renton north to Cougar Mountain, to name just a few of the deleterious effects. This parcel contains the DeLeo Wall, where hikers can get a regional viewpoint to Mount Rainier. The DeLeo Wall has long been reached from the Newcastle Trail System, or the county trail system. On May 3rd, the DNR comment period for this forest practices application closed. On May 7, an interdisciplinary team of 22 government-affiliated professionals met on site, including representatives from King County, Newcastle, DNR, and the owner. On May 17th, DNR, very carefully following their processes, approved the permit application pretty much as written. The City of Newcastle immediately appealed to the PCHB, that's the Pollution Control Hearing Board, a 3-judge panel with oversight of DNR, and has a full week on the docket next March in 2019. There were 220 public comments filed with the DNR, many outraged, none positive. The City of Renton also filed a comment, as did the county. At the same time, a group named Save DeLeo Wall has formed, of which I am a founding member. Our initial goal is to educate ourselves, the public, various governments, and others outdoors-focused citizen advocacy groups. Our webpage has had 4,400 visitors since April. In late April, we had posters on most trailheads describing the logging proposal. On the basis of our groundwork, strong public response, and strong response of existing advocacy groups, the local nonprofit land trust Forterra has agreed to take up the case and negotiate with the owner to buy the property, assuming the owner will sell. Forterra will act as a bridge until the various nonprofits, the city and/or the county raises funds to purchase the parcel. The City of Newcastle negotiated with the owner for no logging until early October, and indeed there has been no logging. But this just buys time incrementally. In the meanwhile, legal appeals, government and institutional reviews are ongoing. Public and private negotiations are occurring, albeit much more slowly than I would like. The ultimate goal is to work with Forterra to create a public-private partnership to purchase the property as permanent open space for King County or Newcastle. The Save DeLeo Wall Group will raise funds in order for Forterra to cover their immediate cost of negotiation and getting an opinion of value, and will certainly work on all future fundraising efforts to acquire the parcel. In my opinion, it is absurd and outrageous that DNR can ignore or override the May Creek Basin Plan, a collaboration between Renton, Newcastle, and the county. It is also absurd that the DNR can also ignore the City of Newcastle's planning authority, and for that matter, its copious existing research and documentation, simply because the owner attests to keep the parcel as forest land for a period of 10 years. I was going to address this to Councilman Dunn, but he's left, so I was going to ask him to use his skills from the Squaw Mountain experience to help secure funding to buy the parcel. It would be great if he could speak to the owner and convince him that logging isn't the best approach for the parcel. So I thank you for your interest, your ongoing efforts, your outreach to Newcastle, your technical expertise, and your political expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Howard McCumber.
Jason helped me get that together. You'll see one of these things at your place. I know that this particular group that I'm standing in front of have always been very compassionate and have helped the poor in our area. And I'm thankful for that. But there's a lot of people who watch this broadcast on public television, and mostly for their benefit, I'd like to announce that we are going to have a special gala on October the 18th, which is on the screen there, to raise funds for charity here. We have three basic things that we work with. Number one, downstairs in what used to be the jail is the Center of Hope, which provides all sorts of important services to women with children who are having difficulties, and they come there kind of on the run, and they're protected by our police force that's just right overhead, which is very good. And at the same time, any woman who needs support and help connecting with the various agencies that provide services can come there and receive a portal to get those services. It's a very great benefit to us, and we appreciate the city's constant support of this. We also have a meal coalition that feeds the hungry Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Our groups also feed with the Salvation Army Monday through Thursday. So actually, in the city of Renton, Save Folks, Save Faces, are serving the people who are hungry a meal every day at 4:30. Well, actually, we start serving at 5:30. A meal, so there's always a meal available. Also in the morning, over in our facility on Rainier, 300 North Rainier, we have a cold breakfast. We'd like to do a hot breakfast, but the facility does not have the right stoves and equipment for doing that, but at least there's food there, and that's important. And we want you to know that we appreciate the wonderful support the city of Renton gives to the people who are vulnerable, the people who need help and cannot do it themselves. Just thank you very much. Please keep the date open, and we'd love to see you there. It should be fun, and we appreciate the constant support that the city of Renton gives us in providing for those folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Next up, we have the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. Are there any items the council would like pulled?
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I'd
Mr.
like
Corman.
to pull item B, please.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the consent agenda be approved minus item B.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda minus item B. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Mr. Corman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So item B was scheduled to be a referral to the Transportation Committee, which I chair, to review basically $1 million grant that we are going to receive from the state DOT to allow us to to overlay 6/10 of a mile of Renton Avenue South on West Hill. Timing is such that if we actually put it into committee and then come back out with the report, we will miss the deadline to receive that grant. And being as it's just found money for the city of Renton and important, I just wanted to simply move that instead of referring this item, that we approve it here on the council floor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the transportation grant. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right.
Thank you.
All right, next up is unfinished business. Mr. Person.
No unfinished business.
Ms. Witchy.
Yes, Utilities Committee has one committee report.
Okay, Utilities Committee report, interlocal agreement for water service to Ron Regis Park. The Utilities Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to enter into an interlocal agreement to provide water service for domestic and fire protection to Ron Regis Park, and that the connection charges and permit fees in the amount of $88,061 be funded from the Capital Improvement Fund, Fund 316. The committee further recommends that the resolution regarding this matter be presented for reading and adoption, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the interlocal agreement. This is signed by the vice chair and member.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Witchy.
I move that council concur with the recommendation of the Utilities Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, thank you. Mr. McIrvin.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Perez.
Thank you. The Community Service Committee has a report.
Community Services Committee report, agreement with communities and schools of Renton and Renton School District. The Community Services Committee concurs in the staff recommendation to authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign an agreement between the city of Renton, the Renton School District, and communities and schools of Renton in the amount of $25,000 annually for 2019 and 2020. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms.
I
Ms.
move that council concur with the Community Service Committee report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Mr. Pavoni.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have 3 Transportation Committee reports to present.
Okay, the first Transportation Committee report is regarding a water quality combined financial assistance agreement for Duval Avenue Northeast. The Transportation Aviation Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the water quality combined financial assistance agreement between the Washington State Department of Ecology and the City of Renton for the Duval Avenue Northeast project, signed by the committee chair and members.
Move the council concur in the committee report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the next committee report is regarding an addendum to a lease agreement with 540 Renton Hangar. The Transportation Aviation Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute addendum 718 to lease agreement LAG 99-002 with 540 Renton Hangar LLC to extend the term of the original lease for 5 years through July 31st, 2023. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Move the council concur in the committee report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the last report is a operating permit with Seaplane Scenics. The Transportation Aviation Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute a new operating permit and agreement with Seaplane Scenics LLC. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Move the council concur in the committee report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that's all.
Thank you. All right, legislation. We have one resolution and one ordinance for second and final reading.
Okay, the resolution is regarding an interlocal agreement with Cedar River Water and Sewer District. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an interlocal agreement with Cedar River Water and Sewer District related to water service for the City of Renton's Ron Regis Park.
Mr.
Mayor.
Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Witchy.
I move that the resolution be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
All right, the ordinance is for second and final reading. It's regarding code interpretations. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, repealing Ordinance 5882, adding subsections 41885 and 4925-H to the Renton Municipal Code and amending subsection 49025G of the Renton Municipal Code, adding a review process for procedural and non-substantive text amendments to Title IV of the Renton Municipal Code, and amending the review process for administrative code interpretations of Title IV of the Renton Municipal Code, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. McGurven.
I move that the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. McGurven, seconded by Mr. Corman, that the ordinance be adopted as read. This is a roll call vote.
Okay, Mr. Prince,
Aye.
Mr. Person,
Aye.
Ms. Switchy,
Aye.
Mr. McGurven,
Aye.
Ms. Perez,
Aye.
Mr. Pavoni,
Aye.
and Mr. Corman.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
The ayes have it. Next up is new business. Mr. Person.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. September 24th, Monday, at 5 p.m., the Committee of the Whole will meet in the conferencing center for two topics: Airport Master Plan, the quasi-judicial appeals, and then back in council chambers for the Community Development Block Grant Funding allocations. And for the and then also at 3:30 p.m., the Finance Committee will meet in the council conference room. Three topics: King County Spring 2018 Senior Center funding, vouchers, and emerging issues in finance. That's all. Oh, yeah, one other thing. That's all the committees I need to refer to. And I would like to refer to the Committee of the Whole, the parking at Gene Coulon Park. And I'll try and explain it. I see that is happening down there is, for years, everybody could just come and park and leave their cars and go, and we never really worried about it. But now we have a big hotel, we have 3 apartments, and we're gonna have 5,000 people in the office buildings. And a lot of people are using the park to park close and walk to the hotel or walk, and I can see the park being so full of workers that there would be no place for our park users. And so I think we need to the council needs to take a look at it to see if there's some parking restrictions or what we're gonna do to handle that. So with that, I move that the parking situation at Coulon Park be referred to the Committee of the Whole.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Ms. Perez, that parking at Coulon be referred to Committee of the Whole. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Ms. Witchy.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. McGurven.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Perez.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Pavoni.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a Public Safety Committee meeting to announce on September 24th. We'll be meeting in the council conference room at 4:30. We have 2 items on the agenda. The first is false alarm ordinance revisions, and the second is emerging issues in public safety. And I'd also like to take this time to say that I had the opportunity on Saturday to bring the boys down to the Multicultural Festival. And it's the 3rd year we've gone, and I think that festival is really growing and it's unique. It was raining out, so the turnout wasn't quite as big, but I think it's really starting to hit its stride, and it was a lot of fun. The boys had a good time. I think their favorite part was they got to drink a Venezuelan soda pop.
Oh, wow.
Malta, I guess it was. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Corman?
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
All right. What's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.